I think it's a compliment as an interviewer when you're talking to somebody and they say, good question.
I'd like to speak about Disposable Underground for a little bit.
Hmm.
You've kept the zine going as a blog. I'm curious, all these years later, what is it that you still like about interviewing bands?
Yeah. I don't do that many interviews anymore, and
Okay.
I'd like to do more of them. I've been doing a lot of, reviews, news items, and taking pictures and video of bands. So I'm taking advantage of it being a blog for doing that.
Yeah.
And I've been spending a lot of time on this email newsletter. That's an outgrowth of the thing where I'm taking a lot of news bites. News bites is what I call them in the newsletter. Where I'll just mention something that happened and then try to explain it just in a couple of sentences. Then here's the link. Why don't you read about it?
Right.
So I've been doing that a lot. I'm enjoying that. And I've had this big project that I worked on for years. I started during the pandemic, and I actually have on the blog an explanation of the whole thing from beginning to end. But what I did was is I went through every issue of my zine and I pulled highlights out of it and I put it on my blog. So, the best stuff. All of the interviews, some of the opinion pieces and like news articles, some of the reviews. And so they're all up there in a section of the blog and you can flip through it all, you know? And that was a lot of work because some of the zines, they're just cut and paste on paper.
Yeah.
And I was using these optical character recognition websites to try to get the text out of them and all this. But it's done now. It's all up there. So I, I have to I have to start just doing a media blitz and letting people know that it's all done and it's all up. I've been posting about it some.
I just wanted to say it's super cool to see these old interviews with, Napalm, Sepultura, bands like that.
Yeah,
It's funny because there's a Sacrifice interview from the first issue, I think,
yeah.
and I just spoke to those guys a couple days ago,
Hmm.
and so it's funny to think that, like, 30 years later, it's like some things actually don't actually change.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like if you speak to Chris from Autopsy, he hasn't changed a bit.
yeah. I will say that I did speak to Barney Greenway a couple of years ago, and he's very articulate now. He's very media savvy, which I'm not sure if he was when you spoke to him back in the day.
Well, I wouldn't call it. I mean, it was a different thing. I was just sitting there at a club or on the bus with a tape recorder, and those guys weren't saying anything untoward or anything like that. You know,
No, 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 not at all.
but I mean, yeah, he's so much better at expressing himself because, man, he does so many interviews.
Yeah.
Every time they put out a record, I mean, he must, I don't know. I don't know how many interviews he does in a day, you know?
I mean, I had something like 25 minutes with Barney, and like every question had a great soundbite, and it was like, wow, like, like, and very little editing on this one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I get you won't get a whole lot of pauses out of that guy, I guess,
Yeah.
where he has to search. I guess it's a compliment for you if you ask him a question and he can't just pull something out right away.
Yeah.
He has to think about it because I think it's a compliment as an interviewer when you're talking to somebody and they say, good question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once in a while somebody would tell me, oh, they'll say something like, I enjoyed the interview or these were good questions. Because, like we were just saying, they might have done, by the time I talked to them, they might have done 10 or 20 already, and you'll get a lot of the same questions. So I try to come up with something a little different. What that, as far as I can tell, is different.
Dreams of Consciousness and Disposable Underground, I think, started in similar ways and ended up in similar places.
Mm.
This is a question I ask myself every couple of months, sometimes every interview. But if you don't mind, I'm going to ask it of you. When you started it, what was your goal and what keeps you doing it?
When I started the zine, I had, it's a long story how I started out by writing for other zines, and then I had my own ideas about how I'd like to do a zine if I had one. And then I finally said to myself, well, why don't I just go ahead and start one? And I still enjoy writing. I still enjoy talking to people. I hope people, I was growing my blog when I used to have analytics like that were easy to digest. And I would see that it would grow every month, as far as the hits I would get and all that go. Because basically, all I want is for people to read it, you know?
Okay.
It's the same thing with the band. I would love for people to listen to the record, and it'd be great if they liked it. Yeah, so I just want people to I would just like people to read it, and I hope that they enjoy it and then they come back for more later. With all of these old pieces from the zine that I put onto the blog, I'm hoping with all this old classic dusty content, they go, oh wow, I can't believe that. I guess I shouldn't say can't believe. There's so much sort of archival stuff online now, which is crazy. I mean, even Jason from Misery Index does this. He's got send my stamps back.
Yeah.
And then you have these websites like Issue, you know. I mean, the whole retro thing with zines and tapes is just nuts. You know?
Do you have an opinion on that? The retro thing?
Well,
I mean, it's kids who didn't. I mean, we were speaking about Carcass before, and
yeah.
I will say that one of the reasons why it took me so long to get into Reputrefaction was because I initially owned it on cassette, and the cassette I owned kept jamming,
Mm.
and so I got to listen to you know, the first three songs and the last three songs. That's about it.
Yeah.
On like a shitty auto reverse Walkman, and the sound wasn't great to begin with.
Yeah.
Plus, the production on that album. And like years later, now when I listen to it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Well, I mean, I could talk all day about Carcass and Napalm Death, but
Well, I'm just curious if you have thoughts on
oh yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. Oh,
on the
I mean,
cassette thing
well,
and the zine
the
resurgence.
yeah, the first record I heard was Symphonies of Sickness. So you've got me beat. But anyway,
Oh no, but I only heard it in like 1996. So
oh, okay. Well, I got you beat still.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway, yeah, it's just another thing that's happening in cycles. Everything coming back around. For some reason, for a long time, it was fashionable to dress like you were in the 70s, which I never understood. And, you know, I always thought it was weird that power violence came back, and the old school death metal thing has been going on forever. So you just see this sort of thing over and over, you know? And so it makes sense that people want to do zines again and make ads.
yeah.
No, it's cool. I mean, it's kind of interesting. There's this thing that I only discovered because I went to a show in DC, and it's just one piece of paper and it's got reviews in it.
Interesting.
This is community standards, and it's charming because there's no way to contact them. And it says more next month, and you just got to find it, I guess. And it's awesome, you know? I mean, I haven't tried to find it online because I'm assuming it's not. But it's great, you know?
So you enjoy it? You enjoy the zine and cassette resurgence?
Yeah. There was this great zine that if I understand correctly, ended, unfortunately, called Paper Jam. And that was awesome to observe because at first it was just a simple little zine that's stapled in the middle and it was on a colored paper. But they spent time on the look. They wanted it that had a really good graphical look, and they wanted the articles to be well written. So it was a quality publication, but each one got better because they were, it looked like they were spending more money on it and it got classier, you know? So, some zines aren't interested in any of that. They just want to be old school, you know,
Yeah.
and make it look like it's, 1989 or something.
In Southeast Asia, we have a bunch of those. Like everyone wants to pretend that it's still 92 doing
Right,
fold and staple, cut and paste scenes,
right,
black and white photos.
right. You don't, when, what I did with my zine is when I graduated from cut and paste and I went to desktop publishing. At first, it was kind of a combination, and then it was all done on desktop publishing, and I tried to make it look good. I mean, with varying results. Some of them look better than others. I kept tinkering with it, that one issue would look like this and another one would look like that.
Would you ever put out a printed zine again, like maybe as an anniversary issue or something like that?
I've been thinking about that. I did this thing where I printed out some pages and just stapled them together, and I handed them out at Maryland Death Fest. Like I printed out some of the interviews with some of the bands that were playing. You know,
That's awesome.
I only did that once. I guess I guess I don't think I'm ever going to get around to it. You know, I mean, it's important to keep putting content up on the blog, and I got plenty to write about. I get all the promos via email, of course, and then I'll take pictures or video at shows, and I go online trying to find stuff to write about. So, I got plenty to do.
Is there one interview that you're particularly proud of?
There's some interviews that I think came out really well, and I'm proud of those. When I've gotten a lot better as a writer. I look at some of the stuff that I wrote when I was working on this project of putting a lot of the content onto the blog from the zines. Then some of it was cringeworthy, and I put it up anyway. Some of it was so cringy I didn't put it up. But I like to think that I've gotten better as a writer over the years, and I try to write something that's will be entertaining to read and it's got a good flow to it. And I try to be clever, you know.
Yeah.
So, with some of these interviews, you had to be at the right place at the right time, and so I'm happy that I was able to get some of them. Some of them just didn't. Sometimes it was just through the normal channels of talking to the record label, and then you get in line and wait for your phone call.
It's interesting because, there's a generation of kids who grew up with cameras
Hmm.
in their pockets. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And we were talking about how like some of the older bands that we interviewed are a lot more media savvy now. But I feel like a lot of and when I say kids, I mean like some of these guys are like literally young enough to be my kids now. But it feels like they're very, very aware of what it means to be on camera, what it means to be recorded, what it means to be, speaking to an audience. I don't know if you noticed that.
When you say what it means, how do you mean?
I wouldn't say like they're necessarily that polished as, in doing interviews, but it does seem like they're much more comfortable
Oh,
on camera. I mean, like as we do this interview, I'm not on camera. I don't have a camera set up on this computer, and it's something that I was never comfortable with, and I didn't really grow up in it. Camera phones for things like that, and so it's still a weird thing for me, to be somewhere to like be at the gym and then see like, someone filming me and be like, hey,
mm,
why is this happening? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Whereas I think every time these guys play live, every time they, go anywhere, even if they're just out with their friends goofing off, they're very conscious about being recorded.
yeah, I see what you mean. There's less and less people, I guess, that you're going to meet that are they're like when you pull out a camera, they'll go like that. They don't want their picture taken.
Yeah.
Eventually there's not going to be any of that, I guess. I haven't noticed.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to get into the whole thing of me being like a cranky old guy talking about how the kids are conducting themselves online and all that shit. I mean, I've written one of the songs on the new record talks in part about people being manipulated into acting a certain way on online, on social media. And I was being specific about who I was talking to, but I mean, especially with the tech and industrial complex that Biden brought up. And by the way, I was texting with Mason about this. I said I was really surprised that he used the phrase tech industrial complex, and he also that he used the word oligarchy.
Right.
I just never would have thought that that word would ever come out of his mouth, you know? That's more like Bernie territory, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember where I was trying to not go.
Well, I will say that cranky old guys complaining about kids today could have been the other name of this podcast.
No, it's fine. I mean, everybody can complain, in the privacy of their own home. What's the difference, right?